So let's talk about these Cincinnati Bengals, man. First off, the Bengals have gone all in on their skill position players. Paying Joe Burrow, it's like 252. They given Jamar Chase $40 million a year, 121 guaranteed. T. Higgins, 4 years, 115. I just like, woo, that's a lot. On the offense, they are spending. Now, here's the thing. We talked about the Pittsburgh Steelers, Big G, and how much money they spent on defense last year.
Mm-hmm.
Their offense, they are spending $163,600,000 on offense. That is how much they are spending on their offense. Now, the one thing about that you could say is the Steelers spent that much money on defense and it didn't do a whole lot. Where the Bengals offense is going to do something, but that's disproportionately bad. It can't work out in their favor, Big G. It just can't.
Listen, man, it was the dumbest move in history. I'm just telling you. In NFL history, it was the dumbest move that I've ever seen anybody do. Listen, what you have just done is you took Joe Burrow's Super Bowl window and went from this and you done shrunk it down to this.
Yeah.
Because now he doesn't have any offensive lineman to protect him. He doesn't have a defense that can help him. So they basically said, Joe B, we're going to give you 2 weapons. Go do what you do, right? And this the whole killer part, bro. If they mess up anywhere in the draft over the next 2 years, they might not make the playoffs. That's how dependent they are because they can't get money and can't get players and good players based on the money and free agency. They just can't because they're strapped for the next 2-3 years. They can't do anything. And guess what's got to happen else? They're going to have to trade Trey Hendrickson because they can't afford to keep him. He's got to go. So to me, it was stupid, bro. It was just dumb.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that they decided, Trey Hendrickson is a dude. I couldn't believe that they decided that was the guy that they could do without. Mm-hmm. And now they're talking about, they're trying to work out a contract and they're trying to figure this out. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't see. I mean, somebody's going to have to take a pay cut. Well, who? Mm-hmm. Who's it going to be? Or you're not going to be paying hardly anybody else anywhere else. Can you imagine if they sign Hendrickson, which they can fit it in there? They can make it work. So that'll be over 50% of your salary cap on 4 people.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. Not to mention Orlando Brown is making $15 million a year.
Yeah, and he's trash.
Yeah,
and he's trash.
Even any good. So I'm like, man, I get it. But you know what? We haven't really seen a team do this before, Big G. We haven't seen a team that just say, you know what? Screw it. These are our best players. We're going to pay them, and we'll just figure out the rest. Maybe it works. Maybe it doesn't. I don't think you can do that in today's day and age. In any day and age in football, you got to build with your trenches. You got to have some people on your offense and defensive line. You got to have somebody.
Well, B, I think we've seen this before, and it didn't really work, right? They got one chip out of it. They did, but it was the Indianapolis Colts. They had Marvin Harrison Jr., Reggie Wayne, Peyton Manning, and they paid them all that bread.
They had guys. They had Jeff Saturday, Tariq Glenn. They had a decent offensive line.
Right, but they hit in the draft with Bob Sanders and Dwight Freeney. They hit the draft. So see, that's what the type of Russian roulette that the Bengals is going to play. They're going to play that they think that their scouting department, advanced scouting department, player personnel departments can go and pick the players out that's going to get them over the top. I just wouldn't do it. And I tried to explain it to all them Bengal fans out there. You don't give up 44% of your cap to 3 dudes, dog. What is you doing? But we know from experience, TJ Watt, Minka Fitzpatrick, Cam Hayward, we paying all that bread, come on now. Come on. It don't work. You're stuck in purgatory. You're going to be 9-8, 10-7 every freaking year. You're never going to get to the Super Bowl because other teams have balance on both offense and defense. But you're going to be talking and chirping to us Steeler fans. Get up out of here. They need to stop it. They need
Yeah,
to
well,
stop
the
it
thing
right
about
now.
it is that first of all, do we trust the Bengals, or do the Bengals trust themselves to be able to make the proper selections in the draft to be able to get hit on players like that? The answer to that is no. Okay,
Facts.
we could talk about, well, they drafted Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and T Higgins. I go, yeah, that's because the Bengals were so bad that they were drafting at the top of the draft. I go,
Mhm.
you can't miss forever at the top of the draft like they had for decades. You can't
Mhm.
always miss. So
Mhm.
they hit on a few guys, but we know that what their potential is.
Look
Look
at
at
that.
them. I mean, we
That's
know what they do. It's
yeah,
just, to me, it's just ridiculous. But
yeah.
whatever, man. Whatever. Like I said, if this is what the Bengals want to do, more power to them. First of all, more power to the players for getting the money.
Yeah, oh yeah.
I don't blame them at all. But
Yeah.
if you're trying to tell me that this is how you are going to build your roster and build your team, we're going to find out. Because I personally, I don't think it's going to work. I don't
Yeah.
think you can build your team like that.
I got called a hater today multiple times by multiple Bengal fans. I got called a hater talking about you wish you had them and all. No, I don't. No, I don't. I don't wish I had all that money. And I'm gonna hit you with a stat, right, bruh, for real. And just a question and a stat
Yeah.
is: have they went backwards since Andy Dalton ain't been the quarterback? Because I got some stats that'll kill you. Andy Dalton was 50-26-1. Joe Burrow's 38-30-1. Andy Dalton had 5 playoff appearances. Joe Burrow had 2. Andy Dalton's completion percentage was 11.6. Joe Burrow's is 10.9. Andy Dalton's QBR was 49.5. Joe Burrow's was 48.5. And Joe Burrow took 196 sacks. Andy Dalton took 140. So you tell me who better. All them people loving that Joe Burrow. Okay. Because when he get killed this year, because can't nobody block for him, because you didn't pay for no lineman, then come back and talk to me, Cincinnati Bengals. Get up out of here. They trash.
I
They
mean,
just so
it's a
trash.
problem. It
Yeah.
is a problem. Like I
Yeah.
said, 36% of the cap is in 3 players
Mm-hmm.
in 2025. That is insane. That
Mm-hmm.
is what it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if that's the route, that's the route. You know, I mean, here's the thing: if we're all being honest, the Steelers did the same nonsense last year with the defense,
Yeah.
paying 100 and again, I mentioned this at the top: $160 million to a defense that wasn't a top 5 or top 10 defense. At least the Bengals could go out there and say, "Hey, man, we were a top 5 offense
Mm-hmm.
with what we do."
Mm-hmm.
Steelers didn't do that.
Yeah.
And the problem is that in the positions that make you a top 5 defense, the Steelers didn't have top 5 players. And
Facts.
I say it all the time. There's never been a defense that Big G, and you know this, that is considered to be a top flight defense that have average cornerback play.
Nope.
There's no defense that
Yeah.
you've ever heard of that is top 5, top 10 that has just average corners. And that's what the Steelers got.
Yeah. And that's why we 9-8, 10-7, struggling in the middle of the pack, drafting between 18 and 21. But hey, welcome to the pack, Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Welcome to the pack, because that's where you're gonna be sitting at for the next whatever.
They're
Welcome
they're
to the
going to be
brotherhood.
strapped. It's
Yeah,
going to be
welcome to the brotherhood.
interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody brought it up in the chat, and my man Leonard, and he's right. We don't wish injury on anybody,
Mm-hmm.
but if somebody gets hurt, if you don't even have anything to build up depth at any position,
Mm-hmm.
that's the whole thing. You don't have it. Here's my man Leonard with the first super chat of the night, coming in hot, saying Bengals made this move so Joe Burrow don't ask for a trade, but he's supposed to be him. Guess not. I
Yeah.
mean, I can live with that a little bit, but if you want your guys, you want your guys. I get it. But then again, my whole thing is if I have to pay you $252 million, you need to
Yep.
be able to make some guys better.
Yep.
That would be my thing. If
Yep.
I have to pay you $252 million, you should be able to make some guys around you better.
Right.
Patrick Mahomes would be the perfect example of that.
Yeah, and he ain't took no 252.
Yeah,
He ain't.
he don't make
Matter of
that,
fact,
but they say, "Hey, Patrick, we're paying you," and he's like, "Look, get some other players." But Tom Brady was the perfect example.
Facts.
Perfect example.
Facts. Total
So
facts, bro.
my man Claude said, gentlemen, they should have kept Justin Fields. Hey, man, move
Claude.
on. Justin
Claude.
Fields is no longer a Pittsburgh Steelers. Nobody cares anymore. Move
Yeah.
on.
It's over. I mean,
It's over.
I don't even
We
want to
don't
really,
need to
I
talk
mean,
about Justin Fields.
right, I'm upset about it, and I really don't want to talk about it. So he's not a Steeler, he's a Jet. Let's focus on what we got. I agree, B.
Correct.
Yeah, I
Correct.
agree.
But yeah,
Yep.
I think it's crazy uh, that the reason what the Bengals are doing, I think it's wild. But we're gonna find out. We're gonna
Mhm.
find out. My man Leonard says Tom Brady got guys paid. Yeah, he did.
Sure
Yeah, he
did.
did.
And got
But
dudes to the
that's what
Hall of
the great
Fame.
ones do.
Yeah, got dudes to the Hall too. Richard Seymour.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll run down dudes that shouldn't even be in the Hall. Got dudes major coaching jobs. Look at Mike Vrabel. Mike Vrabel ate off of that, man.
correct.
But they had corners though too, B. They had corners. They had
Yes, they
corners.
did.
They had
Yes, they
corners.
did. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. I mean, no team is ever going to be no defense is going to be considered a good defense when you have average cornerback play. And until the
Mhm.
Steelers decide to address that position, I know we love the Darius Slay, and let's just go into it now. Big G
Mhm.
talking about free agency.
Mhm.
All right. So here's the producer question, people. The Steelers and Bengals have taken completely opposite roster building approaches. Which
Mhm.
situation would you rather have for the next 5 years? A, the Bengals high powered offense that can get you past the second round, but your defense is bottom 10 every year. Or B, the Steelers balanced roster, top 10 defense, but you can never get an elite QB, but can get you past but can you get past the first round? To me, that's an obvious answer. I think it's
Mhm.
A all day long.
Yeah, I agree, but I still ain't doing it though. Because the reason is this. There so where I think there's certain key positions that once that guy gets hurt, you're out of it, right? And so they built their roster around three guys. If any of those key guys get hurt, it's over. So they're not getting to the second round of the playoffs. They're going to have a horrible defense every year. So I agree with maybe A to an extent, but I like B because the deal is you're going to eventually going to get an elite quarterback. The Pittsburgh Steelers has only had two elite quarterbacks in their history, and we won 6 freaking Super Bowls. So what do you mean? We had and Terry Bradshaw wasn't that elite. He wasn't that elite, but he got 4 of them. Ben got 2. So I like the idea of it because what the Bengals done won? Nothing. They've been to 2 Super Bowls and lost both of them. So give me the bottom one in contrast to the top one because
The Rams.
they're a wide receiver away, a quarterback away from being out of it.
Yeah, but you can
They'll
say
suck
that
again.
about anybody though. If your quarterback gets hurt, if somebody's starting quarterback gets hurt, they're not going to the Super Bowl. If their
Yeah,
top receiver, that's one of the best in the league, gets hurt, they're not going to the Super Bowl. You think
yeah,
about teams with high-powered offenses, like you talked about the Colts earlier. They had a high-powered offense. They won a Super Bowl. The greatest show on turf. They had a high-powered offense. They won a Super Bowl. Give me an opportunity with the way that the NFL rules are. Give me
mhm,
an opportunity with the high-powered offense. I'll figure out the defense. Now, you could also say the Steelers did that when they
yeah,
had the killer bees. They
mhm,
did that. They had a high-powered offense, and the
mhm.
defense couldn't stop a cold.
Facts.
And they ended up giving 42 or 45 points up to Blake Bortles in a playoff game. So,
Yeah,
Lord have mercy.
yeah. I don't want to lose.
Um,
No, I don't want to lose that way, dog. I'd rather do B. That's why I say me. I give me B and give me and because we're gonna eventually hit a quarterback. Just be patient. We're gonna hit a quarterback.
but we're
The
gonna have
law of
to.
averages. The law of averages. We're gonna get a quarterback.
We're gonna have to.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to. I just think you got to have an offense. You can't win the way that the NFL rules are. You just can't win that way. They don't
Mm,
let you win that way.
yeah.
I'm not saying that you can play no defense, but they make it so that you have to be able to score points in order to win these days. And if you don't, you're not going to win. And
Yeah.
it all comes back to quarterback. Quarterbacks get paid all that money for a reason. Quarterbacks are the highest paid position, one of the most important position, if not the most important position in all of sports, is the
Facts.
quarterback position. And the Steelers don't have one. When they do, they can win. But we got to
Mhm.
find one. And paying Aaron Rodgers isn't that. I
Big
can assure
facts.
you that. Russell Wilson wasn't that. Justin Fields wasn't that. At
Facts.
some point, the Steelers have to be able to go, okay, this is going to be our quarterback. You tried with Kenny Pickett, you drafted him way too early. If Kenny Pickett was a third round pick, nobody would be mad at the Steelers that it didn't work out. The
Yeah.
problem is the Steelers drafted him 2 rounds too high
Hmm.
and that he stunk. Well, okay. Now, if the Steelers take a quarterback this year in the third round, nobody's going to be mad if it doesn't work out. They're
Yeah.
going to say, okay, he's a third round pick. It didn't work out. But if
Yeah.
it does, there you go.
Yeah.
So
That's facts.
let
That's
me bring
facts.
up the super chat real quick here.
Where?
Said Jay's upper teeth.
Oh.
He said, why overspend in free agency when you don't have a quarterback? That's an easy answer, is because you can build up your roster without having a quarterback.
Hmm.
You can build your roster up and plug a guy that's halfway decent in. And if think Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy's not no great quarterback, but he had a great roster around him.
Yeah.
That's why you build up the roster. So, you
The,
can plug somebody in there that's halfway decent, Big G, if you've got great players around them.
the Detroit Lions just did it.
Yeah,
They swapped and got Stafford up out of there, brought in Golf, who's a serviceable, but the 53 was straight, and they hit on them drafts and hit in that free agency. Yeah, that's really the way to go, bro. That's really the way to go. Either you identify your quarterback in the draft and you say, okay, we're going to build the whole roster around them, or you build it up and then insert the quarterback, right?
correct.
And I think we're in position to build it up and then insert the quarterback. I think that's what we should do.
Or you have Patrick Mahomes. And
Yeah.
since nobody else is going to get Patrick Mahomes, that's what you need to do. It's
Hmm.
just that simple. You can't, you've got to be able to keep up. You've got to build up the roster the best way you can,
Hmm.
unless you've got the guy. And
Yeah.
if you have the guy, that's different. But
Yeah.
nobody
Fact.
else has that guy.
Hmm.
Buffalo thinks they do, but Buffalo, they can't beat them. So that's just my thing. At
Yeah.
some point,
Baltimore thinking too. Baltimore think they can beat
yeah,
them.
Baltimore. Yeah, absolutely, Baltimore. You're right, Big G. Go ahead.
Baltimore thinks they can beat them.
Yeah,
But wait a minute. That's remember in 17 we could have drafted Lamar. He went 32. They had Joe Flacco that was on the roster that had just won a chip. Right? You see what I'm saying? They saw the vision. They was like, we got to flip this roster over to build around this boy, and it worked. 2 MVPs later, it worked. So they ain't been to the Super Bowl yet, but that's because my homeboy is over in
correct.
Kansas City. But that's the vision. That's how you got to do it,
I
one way
agree.
or the other.
I agree. Adam Schmidt, who's a member, thank you for the super chat, man. On a positive note, would the Steelers be better with an offensive coach like Kyle Shanahan? We all know the answer, in my opinion. Well, I mean, Kyle Shanahan, I like his approach. I don't necessarily like his in-game coaching.
Mm-hmm.
In some of the decisions that he makes in big games. But I think that philosophy of offense would be better for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't know if you necessarily need Kyle Shanahan himself,
Mm-hmm.
but somebody in that frame of mind. It could even be a defensive minded head coach. I don't mind a defensive minded head coach if they have innovative and new and fresh ideas.
Yeah.
That's all that we're asking for.
Yeah.
Upgrade the resume, upgrade the playbook. That's all. Offense or defensive minded, whatever you want to do, but make it towards the rules on how the NFL is played today and not this Mickey Mouse stuff that we keep doing that just doesn't work.
Yeah. That's why the Commanders is out there killing them. Because people can say what they want to say about Cliff Kingsbury. That boy is an offensive genius. He's a genius. And that's why they was out there killing them this year. It was killing them because the offense, it looked like McVay, it looked like Shanahan, it looked like, man, you didn't know what was coming. And that's why they was killing.
Correct.
So and you might see that out of the Bears this year. Because
Correct.
Ben Johnson is a genius. He's
Right.
an offensive mastermind.
He is.
So
I mean,
Caleb might be out there killing him.
yeah, absolutely. He makes Jared Goff look really, really good.
Yeah.
That he had made him look really, really good with what they have.
Yeah.
Somebody had said that I can't tell, or that I like Mike Tomlin's in-game coaching. When did I say I like Mike Tomlin's in-game coaching? I never said that. That didn't come out of my mouth. I just said I didn't like Kyle Shanahan's. That don't mean that I like Mike Tomlin. Come on now, let's not be crazy talk.
That's
So,
facts. That's facts.